Dear students, welcome back. In the previous session we have discussed about stomach. Now in this session we are going to discuss about another visceral organ, that is small intestine. Okay, the small intestine extends from the pylorus to the ileocecal junction. So this is the ileocecal junction and it is about 6 meters long. The length is greater in males than in females, and it is also greater in cadavers due to the loss of tone than in the living, and it is divided into an upper fixed part called as duodenum, and it is 25 centimeters in length, and this one, the lower part, is called as the mobile part. Okay, forming a very long convoluted tube, very long convoluted tube. In this mobile part also, the upper 2/5 of the mobile intestine are known as jejunum. So upper 2/5 is called as jejunum, and the lower 3/5 are known as ileum. Okay, this one is ileum. Okay, the structure of the small intestine is adapted for digestion and absorption. Okay, now in this session we are going to discuss about the first part of the small intestine, that is duodenum. Okay, yes, we will move on to the duodenum now. Okay, the duodenum is the shortest, widest and most fixed part of the small intestine. Okay, it extends from the pylorus to the duodenojejunal flexure. So this here you can find this here, duodenojejunal flexure here. Okay, yes, and it is curved around the head of the pancreas. So here you can find the pancreas. It is curved around the head of the pancreas in the form of letter C. The duodenum lies above the level of umbilicus. Okay, opposite to first, second and third lumbar vertebrae. If you see the length and parts, so the duodenum is 25 centimeters long and it is divided into 4 parts. So the first part is called as the superior part, and this one is the second part, this is the descending part, and the third or horizontal part, and again the fourth one is called as ascending part. Okay, so the first part, that is superior part, is about 5 centimeters or 2 inches long. The second part, descending part, is 7.5 centimeters or 3 inches long. The horizontal part is 10 centimeters, and the fourth ascending part is 2.5 centimeters. Okay, so these are the parts of the duodenum. Now we will see the relations, actually the peritoneal relations. Mostly the duodenum is retroperitoneal, and that means it is present behind the peritoneum and which is fixed except at its two ends where it is suspended by the folds of peritoneum. Okay, and therefore it is mobile. Only the anterior surface of the duodenum is partly covered by peritoneum. So this is the peritoneal relation. Only anterior surface of the peritoneum and the ends of the duodenum are having a relation with peritoneum. Okay, now we will move on to the parts of the duodenum and its relations. Okay, now we will see the first part relations. Okay, so the first part, how the first part is present and how it is related to the other visceral organs. Okay, Now we will move on to the first part of the duodenum. Okay, actually here in this pic you will have the sagittal section on the left side, and the relations also present here, and in the B you can find the posterior relations of the duodenum. Okay, this one is the anterior relations almost. Okay, now so the first part begins at the pylorus, okay, and passes backwards and upwards, and to the right meet the second part of the superior duodenal flexure. So this is the first part, okay, and then this becomes the second part up to here. Okay, this is the first part of the duodenum. Okay, now we will see the relations anteriorly. So this is the sagittal section on the left side, and definitely this becomes the anterior aspect. Okay, and this becomes the posterior aspect. Okay, and superior and inferior aspect. So what are the relations we can see here is anteriorly it is related with the quadrate lobe of the liver, and also it is related anteriorly with the gallbladder. Okay, and posteriorly if you see it is related to the inferior vena cava here. So this is related to inferior vena cava, which is separated by lesser sac. Okay, and actually here this is the opening this is the epiploic foramen, which is the opening for greater sac and the lesser sac. Okay, and posteriorly it is also related to the bile duct. Okay, so here you can find here bile duct, portal vein, and the gastroduodenal artery. So these are the relations on the posterior aspect. If you see superiorly, and it is also related to the lesser sac. Normally inferiorly it related to the neck of the pancreas, head and neck of the pancreas. So these are the relations of the first part of the duodenum. Next we will move on to the second part of the duodenum, that is descending part of the duodenum. So here you can find the second part, that is the descending part of the duodenum. Okay, now what are the relations? Anteriorly it is crossed by transverse colon, okay, and also transverse mesocolon, and the part above colon is overlapped by the liver. Okay, so the liver is overlapped here, and part below the colon is overlapped by the coils of jejunum. Coils of jejunum is also related to the descending part. If you move on to the posterior relations, it is related with medial margin of the right kidney, okay, and also right renal vessels, okay, and right edge of the inferior vena cava. So this is the right edge of the inferior vena cava, and also right psoas major muscle. Okay. Next, if you see medially, so medially pancreas, bile duct, and pancreatic ducts are related. If you see laterally, normally right colic flexure is related. So this is about the second part relations. Now we will move on to the third part of the duodenum. What are the relations of the third part of the duodenum? Third part is the horizontal part, isn't it? Yes. So anteriorly it is crossed by mesentery, okay, and superior mesenteric vessels. Mesentery is nothing but the peritoneal fold, okay, and anteriorly it is also covered by transverse mesocolon and sometimes transverse colon, and also loops of jejunum. Okay, all these related to the anterior aspect of the third part. Posteriorly, it is related to the right psoas major muscle. So here you can see right psoas major muscle, and also inferior vena cava. Okay, aorta. So you can see, so posterior relation. So right psoas, inferior vena cava, aorta, and also right ureter. Okay, right testicular or ovarian vessels. Okay, right testicular or ovarian vessels, and inferior vena cava and aorta separate. So these are the posterior relations. Okay, so if you see on the above, again it is related with the pancreas. Okay, below again it related with the coils of jejunum. So these are the relations of the third part of the duodenum. Now we will move on to the fourth part of the duodenum. So what are the relations in the fourth part of the duodenum? So anteriorly, here actually this is the posterior relations. So the fourth part, again anteriorly, it is related with transverse mesocolon and transverse colon. Posteriorly, it is related with the psoas major, which is separated by left sympathetic trunk, okay, left renal vessels, left renal as well as testicular vessels, and inferior mesenteric artery. So here inferior mesenteric artery is also related. And if you see this part above, what pancreas is related, and again below, so this is the fourth part, above pancreas is related, and below jejunum it is related. If you see the right side of this part, which is related to aorta, and left side it is related with the left kidney and ureter. Okay, and these are all the relations of all parts of the duodenum. And now we will move on to the arterial supply. Okay, arterial supply. Before that, we have to know the suspensory muscle of duodenum, or it is also called as ligament of Treitz. This is a fibromuscular band which suspends and supports the duodenojejunal flexure. This is the duodenojejunal flexure. Okay, and it arises from the left crus of the diaphragm close to the right side of the esophagus. So this is the right side of the esophagus. Okay, and passes downwards behind the pancreas, and it is attached to the posterior surface of the duodenojejunal flexure. Okay, and to the third and fourth parts of the duodenum. And this suspensory muscle is made up of with striped muscle fibers in its upper part and elastic fibers in the middle part, okay, and plain muscle fibers in the lower part. That means it consists of skeletal muscles as well as smooth muscles, and also at the middle it constitutes elastic fibers. Normally its contraction increases the angle of duodenojejunal flexure. Sometimes it is attached only to the flexure. Okay, and then its contraction may narrow the angle of flexure, causing sometimes partial obstruction of the gut. So this is the suspensory muscle of duodenum, or it is also called as ligament of Treitz. So now Now we will see the arterial supply. Okay, the arterial supply of the duodenum is done by the superior pancreatico-duodenal artery and inferior pancreatico-duodenal artery. So this is the inferior one, and another one is, this one is the superior one. Okay, now we will see which part of the duodenum receives some additional supplies. Another arteries which supply the duodenum, or the first part is getting some additional branches from right gastric artery. So it is getting right gastric artery. Okay, the supraduodenal artery, okay, which is also a branch of a common hepatic artery, and retroduodenal branches of gastroduodenal artery. So these are the additional branches, and also some of the branches from right gastroepiploic artery. So all these are the branches, additional branches, which supplies to the first part of the duodenum. So the main arteries you have to mention is the superior and inferior pancreatico-duodenal artery. Okay, so which are the branches of superior mesenteric artery, and another one is the branch of celiac trunk. Okay, next comes to the venous drainage. So the venous drainage, normally the veins of the duodenum drain into the splenic and superior mesenteric and portal veins. Here you can see the portal vein, and this one is the superior mesenteric vein, and another one is the splenic. Okay, here you can find the splenic vein. Okay, so these will receive the impure blood. If you see the lymphatic drainage, so most of the lymph vessels from the duodenum end in the pancreatico-duodenal nodes here. This is the pancreatico-duodenal nodes present along the inside of the curvature of the duodenum, that is at the junction of the pancreas and the duodenum. From here the lymph passes partly to the hepatic nodes. So it passes to the hepatic nodes and through them to celiac nodes. Okay, so hepatic nodes to celiac nodes, and partly to the mesenteric nodes, and ultimately via intestinal lymph trunk into the cisterna caeli. So finally all these nodes will drain into the cisterna caeli. Okay, some vessels from the first part of the duodenum drain into, first part will drain into pyloric nodes, and through them to the hepatic nodes again. So all the lymph reaching the hepatic nodes will drain into celiac nodes. So this is the lymphatic drainage of the duodenum. If you see the nerve supply, so same as to the stomach, this supply is also same. Sympathetic nerves from thoracic 9th, 10th spinal segments and parasympathetic nerves from the vagus pass through the celiac plexus and reach the duodenum along its arteries. This is the nerve supply to the duodenum. Okay, this is all about the duodenum. In the next session, we are going to discuss about the mobile part of the small intestine, that is jejunum and ileum. Thank you.